Welcome to the Mystic Media channel, and I am back with another case study. So it's been a while since I did one, and I received a suggestion from one of my clients, and she was asking if I could do some case studies on historical figures. And I was like, sure. And she mentioned Elizabeth Bathory. So I'm going to be doing a case study on Elizabeth Bathory. Now, a lot of my viewers may already know about Elizabeth Bathory. She's rather infamous in terms of history because she has been accused of killing hundreds of her servants so that she could bathe in their blood. So I'm just going to read a little bit from Wikipedia, and then I'm going to get into her chart. Now, the crazy thing is, there's a camp of people that are saying that this is all just hearsay and it's basically it was a smear campaign against her because she owned all this land or she had all this power as a woman and all this type of stuff. But when I get into her chart, you'll see that her chart basically is supporting the story about her actually being this serial killer, and it's even supporting the reason why she committed all these murders allegedly. But the people that she was associated with, they were two people were convicted, I believe. But let me just read this. So Countess Elizabeth Bathory de Ecsed was born August 7th, 1560. She died August 21st, 1614. So her being a Leo and a 7, that can point to extreme vanity because Leo can be very vain. And then if we're talking about 7, that could be someone that, they are just obsessed with, trying to be glamorous or even trying to be perfect. And Leo is the sign of youth. It's the sign, a lot of Leos, they're afraid of getting old or at least looking old. So they want to preserve their youth. And that was the whole underlying reason for her killing all of these servants. And I think the majority of them were female and they were young. That's the youth theme again with Leo. So she had her son conjoined to Mars in Leo. I'm going to pull up her chart in a minute. But just to show you that she was a very strong Leo. But with her being a 7, that can make her delusional. 7 on the dark end can make one delusional, deranged. 7 also deals with sacrifice, victimization. And also 7 brings the theme of bathing into view as well. Now her life path number is a 27. When you break the two apart, 2 deals with women, 7 deals with enslavement. So you can look at that as her enslaving women, also sacrificing women. The 7 would be that sacrifice. Also being addicted to women, and that addiction part would be the 7. Also, 27 breaks down to 9. That's Mars Aries energy, so that deals with her using force. But also self-glorification. That's one of the dark manifestations of the 27. So let me just get back to this story. So she has been labeled by Guinness World Records as the most prolific female murderer, though the precise number of her victims is debated. Báthory and 4 collaborators were accused of torturing and killing hundreds of young women between 1585 and 1609. The highest number of victims cited during Báthory's trial was 650. However, this number comes from the claim by a serving girl named Susanna that Jacob Silvasi, Countess Báthory's court official, has seen the figure in one of Báthory's private books. The book was never revealed, and Silvasi never mentioned it in his testimony. Despite the evidence against Elizabeth, her family's influence kept her from facing trial. She was imprisoned in December 1610 within Katish Castle, so she was put on house arrest. Back then, I guess that was their form of house arrest in Upper Hungary, and held in solitary confinement in a windowless room until her death 4 years later. The stories of her serial murders and brutality are verified by the testimony of more than 300 witnesses and survivors, as well as physical evidence and the presence of horribly mutilated, dead, dying, and imprisoned girls found at the time of her arrest. So even though there's evidence, there's people that are saying, well, there's no evidence, because I was watching a few YouTube videos, and in every video, there's people in the comments saying, this is a myth. She didn't kill those people. She was just, unfairly accused, or, I was like, are you serious? And I was starting to wonder, like, why are they trying to cover this up? But when I get into her chart, you'll see that what's in her chart has a lot to do with it. Now, stories describing her vampire-like tendencies, most famously the tale that she bathed in the blood of virgins to retain her youth, were generally recorded years after her death and are considered unreliable. Her story quickly became part of national folklore, and her infamy persists to this day. She is often compared to Vlad the Impaler of Wallachia, on whom the fictional Count Dracula is partly based. Some insist she inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula, though there is no evidence to support this theory. Now, in one of the documentaries I've seen, they were saying that she liked to drink the blood as well as bathe in it. And in the comment section, people were saying that she was a relative of Vlad the Impaler. So early years, she was born on a family estate, blah, 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 blah. But this part is interesting. So during her childhood, multiple sources say that she suffered multiple seizures that may have been caused by epilepsy, possibly stemming from the inbreeding of her parents. That's evident in her chart as well. So I'm going to pull up her chart right now, but I'm going to still read a little bit from Wikipedia. So here's her chart. Like I said, let me just get my little spotlight thing. Strong Leo, has Sun conjoined to Mars, but also has Venus in Leo. So again, that need to preserve her youth, which is the underlying reason for why, supposedly, for why she was killing all of these young maidens, these servant girls. So especially this Venus in Leo, that could represent these young females, these young maidens, in quincunx to the moon in Pisces. So this is, you could look at this aspect as her bathing, because that moon in Pisces, a lot of people with moon in Pisces, they love to take baths and stuff. They love to go to spas and all that stuff. It's all about, pampering and all that stuff. You could look at it as, she probably lured these girls right into her bathroom and killed them right then and there or whatever. I don't know the method of how she was doing it, but this could show that she has ulterior motives when dealing with these women, and that, she has to do some maneuvering to get them, to basically get their trust. Now, Sun conjoined to Mars, squaring Uranus. So that's that epilepsy. So they mentioned that she had seizures, she possibly had epilepsy. So Mars square Uranus in particular can manifest as epilepsy because Mars rules the brain, and Uranus can deal with, the circuitry in the brain, and that square can deal with those circuits being, they're not working right, they're not working properly, and that Uranus can create seizures. So she's very forceful with her Sun conjoined to Mars. And they mentioned the ancestral ties. So I noticed that she had Mercury squared Neptune. Now that could deal with mental illness. But I was looking at Neptune. I was like, wow, Neptune's in Gemini. I was like, that could be, she got some incest going on in her family. But also, Mercury is opposed to the moon. Now, I don't know what time she was born, but I'm thinking that the moon would be pretty close to Pluto, which would put it in opposition with Mercury, and that can point to family that has ancestral relations as well. Moving along. Let me just go back to the Wikipedia real quick. I'm going to leave the chart up though. So at the time, symptoms related to epilepsy was diagnosed as falling sickness, and treatments induced rubbing blood of a non-sufferer on the lips of an epileptic, or giving the epileptic a mix of non-sufferer's blood and a piece of skull as their episode ended. This leads to the speculation that Elizabeth's killings during her later life were part of her efforts to cure the illness she had been suffering from since she was a child. However, there is no hard evidence supporting the speculation. Now, the interesting thing is in her chart, her sun is opposed to Panacea, and Panacea is an asteroid that can deal with a cure-all or something that you're using to cure an ailment or cure a disability or disorder. So Panacea is retrograde. It's at the 23rd degree of Aquarius. So that could deal with, her basically cutting open veins of someone and getting the blood and using that as some type of healing method. So, but it can also deal with, because the sun represents children, her basically killing children and using their blood as a healing method. All right. Also, it says, as an other attempt to explain Elizabeth's cruelty later in life, many sources say that she was trained to be cruel by her family. Stories include Elizabeth as a child witnessing brutal punishments executed by her family officers and being taught by family members involved with Satanism and witchcraft. Oh, I would definitely agree with that, with what I see in her chart. So that Pisces influence is not all about compassion and all about being, self-sacrificing and being a savior and all that stuff. Pisces does have a very dark side, and one of the dark manifestations of Pisces is Satanism. So with Elizabeth Bathory's moon being in Pisces, conjoined to Pluto in Pisces, North Node in Pisces, conjoined to Pluto, conjoined to the moon, that could deal with her growing up in a family of Satanists. So she could be part of generational Satanists, which I believe, because a lot of those royals got down like that. Now, including even nowadays, the royals, some of them get down like that. If you don't know, do your research. Also, interesting, her Saturn is at the 18th degree of Gemini. It's opposed to Bacchus, and Bacchus can deal with what gets you intoxicated, but it can also deal with like hedonistic affairs, revelry, being in orgies, drunken orgies, parties, and stuff like that. So that is another indication that she was raised in a satanic family, a satanic household, especially with Gemini, the Gemini influence. 18th degree, mind you, that's a murderous degree. It's a very dark-sided degree. You can even say it's a satanic degree, especially when you figure in that 8 that's figured into that 18. But Saturn opposed to Bacchus is really telling, because that's showing that she was involved in some crazy parties and stuff, and it could have started in her youth. She was taught this. Gemini deals with being taught, learning, and going back to what it says in Wikipedia, just to repeat that, stories include Elizabeth as a child witnessing brutal punishment, Saturn rules punishment, executed by her family's officers. That would be that Saturn at the 18th degree of Gemini. Being taught by family members involved with Satanism and witchcraft. Again, there is no hard evidence for these claims, but her chart is providing the hard evidence in my book. Now, also Saturn is opposed to Hebe, and Hebe represents youth or children. So I'm looking at that as her killing children. Also, maybe her whole family was involved with sacrificing children, and also, sacrificing the children for blood and all that type of stuff. This shit is real. And Elizabeth Bathory is one of the perfect examples of how some of the elite gets down, even in this day and age. Now, one of the main culprits in her chart is Chiron. Chiron is at the 7th degree, which is echoing her birth number. That 7, again, that 7 can deal with sacrifice. It can deal with being delusional, just downright crazy, being deranged, but also, that extreme vanity, delusions of grandeur, all that stuff, victimization, but also the bathing theme. Chiron's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius deals with blood. Sagittarius rules blood. So you can look at this, the 7th degree of Sagittarius, bathing in blood. But Chiron is messing with all of this in her chart. So Chiron is squaring Moon, Pluto in the North Node. Chiron is squaring the South Node, also Mercury. Chiron square Pluto in particular, that's the death aspect, murder in particular. Also, Chiron squaring the Pisces North Node, that deals with the baths, bathing in blood. So that deals with her having, and also Chiron deals with healing. So this is showing that she has some weird twisted way of healing, and healing through blood bath. Also, that North Node of Pisces deals with the secrecy, the scheme, the scandal, but also her becoming intoxicated as a result of killing these women and taking these baths. So the Chiron square moon aspect deals with the women, and also her consuming the blood. And this could have been messing with her stomach and all types of stuff. But she didn't care. She had to get her drink on. Also, Chiron squaring the Virgo South Node, again, the theme of health, illness, hygiene. So, they said that when they stormed into the castle, the stench of all the rotting corpses and the blood and all that stuff was just unbearable for the police and all that type of stuff. So, yeah, that's that Chiron square Virgo South Node, but it also, Virgo rules servants. So that deals with her killing those servants, inflicting wounds upon the servants. Also, her having that illness, or I'm sure she had all types of blood-borne illnesses, because Chiron is Sagittarius, square South Node in Virgo, that can represent blood-borne illnesses. Chiron square Mercury, that's her mental health issues, crazy as a freaking loon. Also, her inflicting wounds upon the servants, because Mercury's in Virgo. And Chiron is in sesqui square with Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter rules blood. Jupiter also deals with excess, especially with this sesqui square, because sesqui square could deal with where you lack self-restraint, where you could have excessive appetites, where you could go overboard, where you could do shocking things, like things that are just crazy and bizarre, like where people are just like, oh my God, like really? But this also deals with her beliefs. Jupiter deals with your beliefs. So her believing that the blood is going to help her retain her youth. And look, Jupiter is in trine to the sun in Leo. So this is showing that her beliefs enable her to do what she did. Like, she had no qualms, no type of moral compass that would stop her from doing this. But it can also show that, again, she was indoctrinated into this spiritual belief system that included child sacrifice, or just sacrifice of humans in particular. Also, that Sun trine Jupiter deals with her being of royalty, but that's that easy access to blood. Like, she had like free reign to do what she wanted. That Sun trine Jupiter is like, you got freedom to do what you want. You got free reign. All right, let's see what else. Her Venus is conjoined to the fixed star Dove, and that could deal with her being very forceful, destructive, and arrogant. And this right here, Saturn is running parallel to the fixed star Arcturus. And I told y'all about Arcturus before, that it can protect people. Like a lot of people that have Arcturus. I'm sucking on a lozenge. My throat's kind of messed up. A lot of people that have Arcturus on one of their planets, they can be protected where they don't have to face persecution for their crimes, for their transgressions. They don't have to, face trial or whatever, or they don't have to they don't have to face the consequences for their actions. It can even deal with people around her that are protecting her. And Saturn is in Gemini, and that deals with even today. Like I said, people are trying to erase this history. People are trying to say that, oh no, she really didn't kill these people and all this stuff. I'm like, bullshit. Arcturus also will bless someone with riches. But as we know, the love of money is the root of all evil, they say. But also, Arcturus can result in having a lot of power, and power corrupts, as that Lord Acton said, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And she had a lot of power from what I learned in this documentary. So she was able to get away with this. And even today, it's like she's quasi getting away with it with some people because some people are really believing that she is not guilty of what she was accused. But they're like Wikipedia is stating over 300 witness reports. And when they stormed her castle, they found dead bodies and stuff. Just a couple of more things that I saw before I close this video out. Her Uranus is at the 16th degree of Scorpio. That 16 is a number of catastrophe. Also, it reinforces that 7 theme of the delusion, being deranged, but also Uranus, 16th degree of Scorpio, that's like victimizing people through murder. Also, her Uranus was conjoined to Cupido, and I'm looking at that as her being a lesbian as well, but also you could see that as her being a necrophiliac. Now, Uranus is in trine to her Pisces North Node. I'm looking at that as her being part of a secret society of blood drinkers and bathers, basically being part of the satanic elite, like I said, which are still alive and well to this day. And that Uranus trine North Node deals with her being at liberty to kill for her bathing, to fulfill her fantasies, or even as a healing mechanism, because Pisces also can represent healing. So proof is in the astrological pudding. Oh, did I mention that her sun is conjoined to Regulate, and that could represent royalty, nobility, great power and fortune, leadership, but also it can make one violent and it can lead to one sudden downfall. A couple of other things. Her Pluto was conjoined to the asteroid Eros, and Eros deals with, lust and sexual attraction, what turns you on. So that deals with her getting off on causing suffering to others. But you can also look at that as her having like a harem of sex slaves, and also where she was just getting all sexually turned on by, murder and all that type of stuff. This was a sick, twisted bitch. Her Venus was opposed to Cassandra, which makes me think that she was advised to do this. So again, what it says in Wikipedia, the speculations about her being part of this group or being part of this family that was into Satanism and witchcraft, I'm definitely believing it. Mercury runs contra-parallel to Hebe. Again, Hebe represents youth, represents children. So that deals with the blood, again, of these young maidens, these young servant girls in particular, because Hebe is at the 19th degree of Sagittarius. 19 reinforces the theme of youth. Sagittarius rules the blood. So for all these people saying that this was just a myth and this was just to basically dethrone her or take away her power because she was this powerful woman, that's total bullshit in my book. Because like I said, the proof is in the astrological pudding if you know where to look. Like I said, this was one twisted, sick, evil bitch. So let me know what you think in the comments section. I'll be doing more of these historical case studies because this is really interesting. So coming right out the gate with these historical case studies, it was really raw thanks to one of my clients. So if you would like a reading, you could go to my website at rabina.com, and I am hosting my first online New Year's Eve party on December 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern. So you might want to consider joining me because it's going to be real fun. It's going to be laid back. I'm going to be talking about the major events that took place this past year, relating it to astrology. And also, I'm going to be getting into some of my predictions for the world in 2019. And every party goer will receive a personalized forecast for 2019, detailing some of your major transits that will be taking place in your chart. So I'm going to leave the link in the description section if you'd like to purchase a ticket to my New Year's Eve party. And again, if you would like a reading, just go to my website at rabina.com. Peace and many blessings. And I will be back with some more videos.